Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of E3 2018, and I felt that this E3 was kind of lackluster, mainly because it was mainly deep dives of games that we were immediately going to be getting in 2018 and 2019, and just the vibes that I got off of Microsoft and Sony kind of make me believe that this is essentially the last E3 prepping up for the next generation that they're going to be putting out. So, I saw some of the different kinds of streams. I checked into the EA one when they were talking about Anthem and all that kind of crap that was going on with that show. It's just like, no. Like the whole mobile game thing, I'm like, at first, I was like, what? What's going on here? Okay. So I just kind of tuned out, and then I was like perked up and was like, hey, Anthem, alright. So, I'm excited for this game, but then again, I'm like, this is Casey Hudson. This is the guy that's pretty much responsible for the ending of Mass Effect 3, which kind of destroyed the franchise for me. Like, that was going to be my Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, video game kind of trilogy thing. And that ending just messed it up for me. So I'm looking at this very warily. And I kind of like that they said that the microtransactions were just going to be cosmetic and that there's not going to be any pay to win or loot boxes. But this is EA we're talking about. I will believe it when I see it. And I might just wait for it for good measure. We didn't get any kind of information exactly on a time frame for the beta, which I'll definitely be interested in to get a kind of feel for it, but the different javelins looked interesting. Hopefully they're able to do a better kind of story than most of the kind of shared world looter shooters that we've been getting. But, I don't know, I'm hesitant. And we got the release date of February 22nd, 2019, which is a focal point because throughout the rest of the conferences, we got Metro Exodus doing that, we got Crackdown 3 doing that, we got Days Gone doing that. There's a lot of games coming out on that. So, I'm definitely expecting some pushing. EA and Anthem, I think, are going to be the ones that take that top spot. I hope Microsoft is able to do it earlier. Now, granted, they got to watch out how earlier they do it because Kingdom Hearts 3 is supposed to be coming out January 29th, 2019. It's really kind of crazy. We'll have to see how that kind of juggles out, but that's the biggest kind of thing I was waiting for like the EA conference. Then we get to Microsoft's conference, and I didn't hate this, but I was still disappointed nonetheless. And not that there weren't a lot of good games or I didn't like what I was hearing from it. It's just I wasn't expecting this kind of look of, okay, we're pretty much conceding this generation and wrapping up what we can and pretty much focusing to bum rush and take on the next generation. That's great. But I kind of wanted something else, at least first party wise, to be done. Now granted, they acquired 4 studios and created a 5th one, so they're investing in first party. I just hope they're able to get the kind of diverse IPs involved so that way it's not like, okay, the last first party I bought was Halo Wars 2. And I traded that in because I wasn't having fun with it. I played Sea of Thieves from Game Pass and I'm like, not my kind of game. I'm not really that interested in State of Decay as a franchise because it just doesn't seem like my kind of game. I mean, I like zombie games and everything, but I kind of want crazy kind of stuff done with it, like in the style of Left 4 Dead or Dead Rising kind of things going on. So I'm like, okay. So they did get some different ones, and hopefully they're able to launch those IPs. Now, I was not expecting a surprise-ass new IP popped out of nowhere. If anything, I was expecting maybe them purchasing a game that was going to be ready to be done this year as an exclusive. Granted, Red Dead Redemption being dropped in the fall has pretty much scared everybody away from releasing in the fall, so we'll kind of see about that. Because everybody's just going into the next year. I'm like, okay, calm down. Red Dead Redemption is good, but I mean, there are so many myriads of other months that could have been done. It's nuts with how they've been doing scheduling with all these game releases. They either want to load them all up in the fall and be like, I kind of want different kinds of games, different kinds of year, like different times of the year. I'm like, come on. That's what first party's supposed to get you through till the third party comes out. The one that you're really interested in. So most of the games, I'm like, okay, this is working out. It was interesting that we got Halo Infinite. I'm like, okay, that's probably definitely going to be, from the feeling that I got from Microsoft's conference, a kind of split one of Halo on like Xbox One, but also being pretty much paired up for Xbox Scarlet, which we've been hearing all the rumors around because they talked about that going in. And I'm glad that they're showing that it's more focused on the Chief and everything, but I'm like, I understand this was more of a demo for the new engine, but it didn't really give us much more other than they're trying to get back to that classic kind of Halo feel, so hopefully they're able to do that. We also got some big stuff. We got Gears of War mobile game. I was like, I understand the troll, but you gotta be careful with that. Gears of War kind of XCOM style, but that's only coming out for PC, which kind of confused me. And then Gears of War 5. And I'm excited for Gears 5. And I'm interested to see that Kat is going to be the protagonist of that one because, well, all the information that we got at the end of Gears 4, it's like, okay, I'm intrigued to see where this goes. I was kind of confused with the tone and the context of the reveal trailer, though, because a lot of different things are going on. JD is acting like a dick to her, and he's got a robotic arm. I'm like, what the fuck? And she's kind of acting like a dick back to him, because my biggest kind of issue that I had with Gears 4 was each of the characters felt interchangeable and filled in a certain kind of role. Like, okay, you're going to be the serious one in this segment, you're going to be the joking one in this segment, and you're going to be the exasperated one in this segment, trying to handle these two going forward. So it was just weird seeing the context. I'm like, okay, these two are pissed off, but Dell's just like in the corner being like, Jesus, how do I deal with this? So I'm definitely interested to see what they do with their character if by the end of Gears 5 we see Kat set up as a villain, potentially. That would be kind of cool, because the weakest kind of aspect was there was no true antagonist or one kind of villain in Gears 4. I mean, you could count Jin kind of, but she's kind of, we'll kind of have to see. But with Kat's affinity and to the Locust and everything, we'll kind of have to see what goes on with that. So hopefully it's up to snuff and we get context and understanding of what's all going on, because I think it could have been done better to showcase that this was her journey of trying to figure out who she is and what that means within the Gears universe. And then we get Phil Spencer talking about what's going on with Xbox and everything, and talking about like all the acquisitions and all that, and how they're going to be trying to do console quality streaming to pretty much any device. And then, of course, talking about the next Xbox. This is where I kind of, like, deflated. I'm like, oh, okay. The only kind of new game that I'm looking forward to first-party-wise is Crackdown 3. And I've got to wait until the fall in 2019 for these next kind of ones. And you could see not a lot of people were putting release dates past 2019. So that makes me believe that around 2020, 2021, we're getting the new consoles, and that's going to be the next generation, and we're going to be going from there, because he talked about the next Xbox and all that kind of stuff, and it closed out with Cyberpunk 2077. I'm like, oh, that was kind of cool. I'm like, alright. And I'm always interested in what CD Projekt Red's going to be coming up with because I love the Witcher series. So I'm like, yes, yes. And that was just a CGI kind of trailer. I'm like, okay, they got stuff done. I've heard a lot of good buzz from people that have seen what's been going on in action with it. I'm like, alright, that's one that I'm definitely looking forward to. But the thing is, I'm like, all of it's in the fall and all of it's in 2019. So I'm going, alright, let's kind of see where the rest of this kind of goes. And you just kind of see the same kind of thing going on throughout the rest of the conferences. We get to Bethesda and we hear, hey, Doom Eternal. Yeah, slaying more demons and everything. Rage 2 looks kind of interesting. I don't know if I'll completely get into it. But it'll be something to play, maybe. We then also see some other kind of stuff with Elder Scrolls, like Blades and all that kind of thing. We get Wolfenstein information, we get Prey information. I'm like, this is okay. We finally got some more information on Fallout 76. And I'm kind of iffy on it. It's coming out in November of this year. It's essentially if Destiny and kind of Rust/Ark and Fallout had a baby. You could team up with people, you could build bases, and I'm like, Jesus, not more building bases. Good God. Well, at least we don't have the settlement people hounding us. You're building bases for yourself. And it looked intriguing, but it's another game that you're going to need other people for. I mean, granted, it's told that you could do some more things by yourself in the world, but I'm like, that's always what takes me out of those things. I'm like, okay, it's really hard to find a common game that you can play multiplayer with most people nowadays and get together with it before they're off to another thing. That's why you see hot trends with like PUBG and Fortnite going around. It's like, okay. What really was great with the closing out was that we saw a teaser for Starfield and we saw a teaser for Elder Scrolls 6. No release dates. That's another kind of thing like, okay, those are just getting prepared for when the next generation comes. Alright, that's okay. I'm just glad that we got confirmation that things are going with them. Granted, I understand it's just trailers and teaser kind of things, but I'm like, okay, you're working on it. I'm good with that. That's all I kind of really need. Then we get to Sony's conference. And this, to me, was kind of the return of cocky, arrogant Sony. Kind of what led to the launch of the PlayStation 3. We're not completely there yet, because they got some sick burns on Xbox for what they were doing. But here was just a conference that should have been better planned. And I honestly wanted to see who these marketing people were who did this. Both for Sony and Nintendo. They had issues that Microsoft really didn't. My only real issue with Microsoft was like, okay, we're essentially pretty much gearing up for the next thing. Okay, I get that. That's fine. But they at least went through, showed games, and didn't have any weird kind of things going on until the cool kind of little reveal of Cyberpunk at the end. This one, we had a dude playing a banjo in the beginning. And that was for the tease of The Last of Us 2. Last of Us Part 2 or whatnot. And they had people in a church, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I didn't mind this, but I have not played The Last of Us, so I wasn't as invested, and it was very reminiscent of Tomb Raider. Not that it's bad, it's just like, okay, I don't have a complete problem with that. It's just like, okay, this is kind of like Tomb Raider. I kind of got that. And seeing Ellie go around and do everything, I'm like, alright. I was better seeing how it handled gameplay-wise, even though it definitely had its scripted moments. That was the biggest kind of issue with what they were doing with their deep dives with these games. It's like, okay, I'm glad that we're seeing gameplay, but it's kind of hard to tell if it's scripted or not. I rather would have kind of just, you wheeled out a developer with the latest build and show me kind of warts and all kind of thing. I'll be like, granted, I understand that there'd be technical snafus and issues that could occur, but that would make me feel better being like, okay, I understand that this is running on that hardware, and this is kind of representative of what we're going to get. But other than that, I didn't hate what was going on with The Last of Us Part 2. I'm like, okay, you're setting up things, you're giving us kind of context for, hey, there's people trying to live their lives, and there are crazy people trying to kill other people, and Ellie's going to have to do some shit to survive. I'm like, okay. And then we had this intermission thing. And I was like, what? We got weird kind of shit going on them just popping out little bitty things as they're moving the people that were in the church to another location. I'm like, who okayed this marketing-wise? I'm just like, I'm flabbergasted. I'm like, what? No, don't do this. You're losing everybody who is watching at this moment. So then we get all this kind of stuff. We get the Destiny 2 thing setting up the Forsaken DLC, which I didn't feel anything for. I mean, it's kind of big. It's like, oh, this character from Destiny 1's finally back, and spoiler, kills Cayde 6. I'm like, I was surprised at how much I didn't feel it. Because of all the stuff that's going on with Destiny, I'm like, yeah, I'm dropped. I'm done. So that was the only kind of little bits that we got some other things during the Strange Ass intermission, and then we go back and we do Ghost of Tsushima, and this is opened by another musical thing with a dude doing a flute. I'm like, again, why? This does not help your deep dive at all. You could have just went into it, and when they did go into it, I am into this, okay? Oh god, just samurai, just crazy. It looks really good. This, I was like, yes, this is why I have a PlayStation 4. There you go. And I'm like, oh boy, just seeing how the fighting worked out and everything, and just giving us enough context of what's going on, having a natural kind of starting off point, going through and seeing how beautiful it looked and how interesting the combat looked. And it was kind of crazy that we got this one as a deep dive for Sony, and we got the new From Software game, Shadows Die Twice, at the Xbox. I'm like, that one looks good. I'm like, yeah, alright. We got some good things going on. We got all this kind of stuff. Which, that was another good thing that we had seen at Xbox. They have taken it upon themselves to get more Japanese games onto the Xbox. Which brought me up with another point of why I was kind of ticked off with Sony, because they didn't say that Nier Automata wouldn't be exclusive to the console. I'm like, okay, I kind of wish that companies, both them and Xbox, would be more forthcoming with that, to be like, alright, this will be multi-plat at some point. Okay. But Ghost of Tsushima is definitely a play for me, because I just love the setting. I love feudal Japan and what they're going to do with that. So I was like, yes. We then also get some other kind of stuff in there. We get some, we got Neo 2 coming out. We got the Resident Evil 2 remake coming out. That looks good. We got more information on Kingdom Hearts 3, that there's going to be a limited edition Pro, and that they are collecting everything together, at least on the PlayStation side. Now, I was not sure if it was just bundled with the console, but I would really like a collection, and if the collection's only on PlayStation 4, that gets me to more go to the PlayStation 4 one than the Xbox one. Granted, I like achievements, but it's been a while since I played Kingdom Hearts, and I would like all the games so that way I understand more of the story of what's going on. So, like, yeah. We then get into Death Stranding. It was weird. Again, I understand Kojima does weird kind of crazy things, and he's definitely doing something interesting with Death Stranding. I just don't know what it is, and I don't really care at this point. I'm like, okay, he's walking around, he's got packages and stuff. There's like a baby involved, there's weird kind of creatures, there's time involved. It just needs to be explained more how gameplay is going to be, because it's just been focusing on, I guess, the cinematic portions of what's going on, and I'm like, okay. And we close out the show with Spider-Man, and that's another one that I'm really interested in. Granted, I like Marvel. like Spider-Man, but this looks like a nice return to a good Spider-Man game, and they showed it off pretty well. I'm like, alright, this is Arkham Spider-Man Edition, and that is not a negative. That is a compliment, because we find out that all these supervillains are getting out of the raft, and there's somebody shady behind it. And I'm like, looks like a good Spider-Man game. There you go. So, overall, Sony's was just like, what? Then, see, the biggest thing is, since they weren't really talking about it, the only one that we knew that was coming out of those 4 that they focused on was Spider-Man this fall. The rest of them don't have release dates yet. So that makes me think, okay, we're going to get another kind of cross-generational thing of probably like certain ones could be ends to the PlayStation 5 or just completely on the PlayStation 5. Granted, the way Death Stranding's going, that one's probably going to be a PlayStation 5 launch. Just because it'll work out that way. Especially with Sony's talking about like in 3 years or whatnot, they're thinking of doing another console because of how PlayStation sales will probably be slowing down at that point. So I'm like, okay, even Sony is getting into that because you see, nothing in Microsoft's was really past 2019. Nothing from Sony's was really past 2019. We got that really in Bethesda's as well. Ubisoft did the same kind of thing. The only thing that I was really interested in with Ubisoft was The Division 2. I'm interested to see how they're going to be able to compete against like Destiny. And I really kind of like the shot fired that they did. They're like, okay, this is all of the DLC that we're going to be having, and it's going to be free for the first year. I'm like, that's a good way to get your customers in line. Have them play the game for a year and see if they've learned their lessons from The Division 1. Granted, I'm still going to be wary and wait and kind of see in-depth reviews and maybe even like a month or 2 after to see if reaching the end game, it does anything. The biggest kind of issue with The Division is it is a looter shooter in a real world setting, and that leads to inconsistencies. If I see a dude in a hoodie and I've got to essentially empty half of a armory of bullets to kill him, it kind of takes you out of it. That's why Destiny kind of works, and Borderlands kind of works. It's a fantastical, weird-ass setting, and you're shooting monsters, so you would think that it would take longer to kill said monster, especially if it's got magic or shit. You know? So hopefully they're able to mess with that. Also, the introduction of raids would be kind of is interesting. Assassin's Creed Odyssey looked pretty good too. I'm glad that they're going to ancient Greece, and my only weird concern is they're trying to turn it more into an RPG, and I don't think that would be the best path forward for Assassin's Creed. I think a kind of balance needs to be struck between showing history and letting you be that historical figure and palling around with historical figures and role-playing it and having different choices and everything, because then you have to figure out if you can let a person make these certain choices depending upon how it'll affect history. So, I'm definitely excited. I'll probably play it because that looks pretty interesting so far. Okay. Then we get to Nintendo's. And this wasn't the worst. I'm really hesitant to say one is the worst. I just feel across the board that everything was kind of lackluster. But Nintendo's thing was they showed all these kind of things at the front, and then they spent the majority of the time on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, granted, my friends and I have had a great time with Smash. I do believe that it demands some time, but pretty much the whole thing, going through all the character rosters and everything, a really deep dive. This should have been its own kind of show, like a Nintendo Direct or something, to do it, instead of taking up all this valuable real estate time at E3. Especially when you don't announce anything or any updates on Metroid Prime 4, no new Animal Crossing, no new looks at the next mainline Pokemon game. Their main focuses were on Smash and the Pokemon games coming out this year. It was really kind of weird. It's like the industry is kind of tightened up and be like, we'll only talk about a game when it's about a year to 2 years out. And I'm like, you just gotta temper expectations, man. Just, you can do a little tease and then like some updates if you've got anything ready for it. I'm like, okay, you don't have to drag it out for like 10 years or whatnot, but just doing that deep of a dive with just one game when you're trying to be like, this is our ecosystem, was just kind of, I'm like, Smash is good. Smash is a system seller. There's gotta be other things too. And they took up a bulk of the time just going into really minutiae details of what they were changing and what was going to be going on with it. I'm like, okay, anything else? Alright. So, I overall was just like, okay, I mean, I kind of knew what games were coming out this year, kind of had an idea of what games would be coming out next year, so I'm just mainly waiting for the new games to come out. I'm really looking forward to Code Vein releasing, the new Tomb Raider in September, both of those in September. Looking forward to Red Dead Redemption. Not really a fan of Battlefield 5. Well, just because I'm not really a fan of the Battlefield series. Just plays differently. COD kind of lost me long ago, and I'm like, this one doesn't have a campaign, so no. Tales of Vesperia coming back out as a remaster in the winter should be pretty good. I've never played that game before, so I'm like, okay, that's one to look forward to. And then most of the rest of the things I'm looking forward to in a wait-and-see approach in 2019. So it's like, okay, let's see how this goes. I'm kind of almost done most of my current games because I'm got some backlog that I've been going through, and I'm like, alright, guess I'm going to have to hunt for other kind of things now. But hopefully next year we kind of get more of a general direction. We'll probably see, if not, we'll probably see reveals of the next consoles in the next E3. And by what I mean by that doesn't mean we'll see the completed kind of forms of them. We'll see Sony announcing that they'll be talking about the PlayStation 5 and what their goals are with it. Xbox with their next Xbox that they're going to be doing, and kind of see where it goes. I'm going to be interested to see who kind of puts theirs out first. Microsoft might want to hold off, kind of see what tech and everything's going on with PlayStation, and then come out gates swinging, making sure that all their acquisitions, and this is the perfect time for their acquisitions, about 2 to 3 years out, they could pump out, if they're lucky, those 5 kind of games. You can get 5 interesting, diverse, kind of cool launch titles for the next Xbox, / work with the previous hardware possibly. It'd be interesting to see how Microsoft could kick it off like that. Sony just has to watch themselves and not get too arrogant and stupid in what they're going for. We'll have to see how, I'm really interested to see how they're going to start the next generation and what their plans are for that. So, those are my opinions on E3 2018. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.